I will do, yeah.
You're going to start there, aren't you?
It used to be taller, guys.
We'll start off on this side and then we're going to move to the middle and then we'll move to this side.
And straight forward, please.
Look to the middle. Now look towards this side.
Andrew, left.
All looking forward, please.
All the way towards you.
Spread ahead.
This way, please.
Straight to the seat, please.
Guys, can I get you to look this way? Andrew, can you come round?
Now look to your right.
Guys, run ahead of this way, please. Everyone straight here at the back. Straight to the front, if you would.
Can we go towards this end, please, if possible?
Just go ahead. Okay,
Can you come forward? Can you come forward, please? Can you come forward?
just go that way. Losing you. Just go that way. So we're growing out. That's good. Right. And everybody else is forward.
Okay, looking forward. Can you go all this way, please, John?
Okay, everyone straight ahead.
There we go, straight towards you.
This way.
There we go, straight towards you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Guys, straight forward again, please. Right down the middle.
Good tags in it.
Guys, can I just get one? Oh, no, we're up. All four of you look at me. Bit tight together.
Can you look up this end? Look up. Coming round. Straight down the middle, please. Straight down the middle.
There we go. Straight down. Look down. Coming round.
And all the way around, please. John, all the way around here, please. Right in front. Just right in front.
That's it, guys.
Guys, straight ahead.
Go all this way, please.
Guys, straight forward, please.
John, up the seat, clear.
Here we go.
Over here. All here. Andrew.
All to the left here, please. There we go. There we go.
Prunella.
Guys, this one here, please. This one here, please.
There we go, straight towards you. Thank you very much, sir. There we go.
Right down the middle, please.
John, you look to this side again. One more. Words.
Great pleasure to welcome you this morning to Fawlty Towers Reopened. As you can see, we literally have reopened Fawlty Towers, and in a moment you get a chance to meet the cast. Now, GRLD is the undisputed #1 comedy channel in the UK, and it was only 6 months ago that we repositioned and refocused our channel proposition and turned UK TV Gold into GRLD, a channel entirely dedicated to great comedy. The epicentre of this comedy is Fawlty Towers. We're a channel with a big promise. A promise that no matter when you tune in or log on, we guarantee you a good laugh. And that's not a promise that I made lightly. It's a promise made with great confidence, because at only GLD have we got the funniest comedy ever written, and Fawlty Towers completely exemplifies that. Great comedy is timeless, and as you'll be reminded in a moment when you see a clip of our 2 exclusive shows on Fawlty Towers, you can't watch an episode of Fawlty Towers without laughing. In only 12 perfectly honed episodes, the legends that are John Cleese, Connie Booth, Andrw, Sachs and Prunella Scales came together to create a comedy masterpiece. And a comedy masterpiece that exemplifies everything that GRLD shows. As you can probably tell, I'm incredibly excited, incredibly proud of these 2 world-exclusive Fawlty Towers commissions. I can't quite believe that we brought the cast together for these shows and here today, as I'm sure you probably can't. And much of this is down to our Director of Commissioning for Factual and Factual Entertainment, Jay Rogerson. So I'm going to hand over to Jay, who's going to tell you a bit more about how we made this happen.
Thanks, Paul. Morning, everyone. The most difficult job in television, as even the most talented people in our industry will tell you, is to make people laugh. And with Fawlty Towers, John Cleese and Connie Booth created a cultural gem which has made us laugh time and again for over 3 decades now. I'm really very honoured and personally very excited that for the first time in 30 years, the 4 key cast members have come together with GOLD to celebrate, in many of our opinions, the finest sitcom of all times. It's not just the beautiful script, it's not just the amazing performances, it's not even the lines we hear so often repeated in our own heads, or the screeches of Sybil and that peculiar laugh. It is the fact that Fawlty Towers has burst through the television screens and become part of the fabric of our cultural life. We celebrate that in 4 hours of specially commissioned programming, and we'll be showing you a short 5-minute tape of that in a moment. The first instalment, Fawlty Towers Reopened, gives us a rare insight into the delightful recipe which created the unbelievably packed 12 episodes of Fawlty Towers over just 2 series. Funny, thorough, and incredibly revealing, this programme is a rare television treat. Look out for the abuse Andrw Sachs put up with typical aplomb, the unique insight into a rare right-wing partnership, the serendipitous casting of Sybil, and the inspiration for her laugh. And like every brave adventure in television, it was by no means certain from its first transmission that Fawlty Towers would become the textbook comedy classic we recognise it as today. In the second 2-hour special, Basil's Best Bits, we're treated to an unashamed, rip-roaring laughter fest where cast and crew, there are a few surprises in here, and John's insight and personal reflection gives us a new perspective on some precious moments of the perfect sitcom. There are just a couple of thank yous. I'd like to thank Tiger Aspect for their fantastic efforts in bringing this to life. These 2 specials follow Blackadder and the Whole Rotten Saga, which was GOLD's highest rating entertainment show of 2008. The relationship between the nation's favourite comedy show who brought us Fawlty Towers. I'm very grateful to John, Connie, Andrew and Prunella for their help in bringing this celebration to life and for agreeing to be here today with GOLD to celebrate Fawlty Towers. Now, I didn't mention it, and I don't know if he will, but it gives me great pleasure to introduce a man whose comic genius has made and continues to make us generations of British people laugh. Please welcome Mr. John Cleese.
First of all, I want to apologise to the cameraman for the fact that nothing that has been said so far will be able to be used by you. I'll see if I can change that a little bit, because that marketing stuff that we get all the time now and is inevitable in our lives is something that I would wish to apologise for. I came across marketing for the first time about 25 years ago when I was staying at the Atlantic Hotel, Weston-super-Mare, and I said I need a lunchbox. And eventually they provided me with a lunchbox, which was a small white cardboard box, and in it was an apple, a banana, a cheese sandwich made out of pre-sliced cheese and pre-sliced bread, a ham sandwich made out of pre-sliced ham and pre-sliced bread, and a small pot of plastic in which there was a little English mustard. And when I went to pick it up, they said to me, "Here you are, Mr. Cleese, here is your carriage hamper." But that's what the essence of marketing is, organised lying. But we're through that now. So they asked if I would say a few words, and all I'd like to say is it is quite difficult to say anything because you all know the show just as well as I do. I will tell you that last year the BBC actually asked me if I would do commentaries on them all, and I thought that would be fun to do because there were some of them that I literally hadn't seen for 20 years. So what I did was I sat down and I watched each episode once and then watched it again on fast forward. And then I sat in a recording booth and talked about the episode for about, 2 hours. That gave us enough commentary for a half-hour piece. And I was really pleased with them. I mean, I could still see the mistakes. I could still see where I could still see where the mousse was supposed to fall on Basil's head and how it didn't fall quite quickly enough. So I'm actually standing there for a split second, and it's a shame that we didn't have time to re-record that. And there are other moments throughout it where I think, oh, we could have done that better. But on the whole, I was very, very pleased with them, especially when you consider that they were recorded just in one day in the studio. We used to get in at 10, We would rehearse until 6. On not a single occasion did we ever complete the dress rehearsal. There was so much to do. And one of the reasons for that was that the average sitcom, and I remember John Howard Davis, who directed the first 6 shows, telling me this, the average sitcom that the BBC did was about 65 pages. And on 40 times we used to do 135 to 140 pages. So for every page in an average sitcom, we were doing 2. And so far as the technical side was concerned, the directors and those great cameramen, well, average sitcom at BBC was 200 camera cuts in the course of a half an hour, and 40 Tales was 400 camera cuts. So people used to say to me, did you enjoy it? And I used to say, well, sort of, but there wasn't really a time to enjoy it. See what I mean? The time pressure. You had just 5 days of rehearsal. And that's not a lot when you're learning 135 pages, which is not only the dialogue, but it's all the business, and then of course you have to memorize it all, and then you have to practice it. It was pretty hair-raising, and I remember looking at my watch at various points and thinking, well, we're a couple of hours behind schedule. I knew exactly where we had to be through the week. So I'm just telling you this to explain that the reason that it now looks so slick is that in the first series, John Howard Davis and I, in the second series, the dear but loved, no longer with us, Bobby Spears and I, used to spend something like 20 hours editing each show. So very roughly, for every minute up there on the screen, we spent about 40 minutes editing it, and that's why it looks as smooth as it does. So that's the technical side, and because Connie and I wrote 135 to 140 pages per episode, that is, I think, why people can go on watching it, because there's so much more in there than there is in most shows. And I have to thank the advertising industry for making this possible. And I'll explain what I'm talking about, which is that Connie and I used to spend 6 weeks writing each episode. And we did not make a great deal of money out of it. This will amuse you, but in 1975, when I did 40 Towers the first time, we made 6 shows. Well, it took us 6 weeks to write each show, so that's 36 weeks. 1 week to film them, 37 weeks, and 6 weeks to actually tape them in the studio. So that was 43 weeks' work, for which I was paid for writing and performing and filming £6,000. So that meant that I was able to subsidize my writing time by doing commercials. Do you see what I mean? If it hadn't been for the commercials, I wouldn't have been able to afford to spend so much time on writing the script. So that's a little bit of background, the more technical kind, some of which you may not have heard a million times before. Does anyone have any questions that pop in their mind? The death of Cardinal Richelieu's 1642. A beaver's front teeth, the average growth is 32 feet a year. Any other questions? Okay. Yes?
How often do you lot get together? Is this the first time you've got together?
We see each other individually, but we don't usually meet all 4 together. I was over here last summer, and I had a couple of lunches with Prue and a dinner with Prue, and saw Andy a couple of times, and we did the Charles' 60th birthday show together, and Connie and I had dinner 3 or 4 times. So we tend to see each other individually rather than in the group.
So it is the first time that all 4 of you have come together?
For a very long time. I can't actually remember. Where are my friends? When we were all in a film, in a room before?
I don't think we were.
He doesn't think we were. But we did when we did the show. We were there. I can't remember. Can you remember, Andy?
Socially afterwards, no?
So it's a very, very long time. Yeah. I am now 69. What are you, Andy?
79.
79? Can you believe that?
A little respect, please.
27 next week.
Oh, it's 27 next year. I thought it was next year. So, a long, long time since we were all in the room together. Anything else?
Did it whet the appetite to do anything together again?
I think we're too old and tired now. You see, that took so much energy to do that show. And I think, everyone would get excited if we did it. But the trouble is, when you do something that is generally accepted as being very good, the horrible problem arises, which is, how do you top it? Because the expectation of what you're going to do gets so high the bar gets moved so high, it's almost impossible to meet the expectation. And it was after I did, for example, Fish Called Wanda, and then tried to follow it with Fierce Creatures, I realized that poor old Orson Welles, who produced Citizen Kane when he was 25, you know, it's a disaster to do this wonderful masterpiece when you're 25, because all you hear for the rest of your life is, yes, that was jolly good Orson, but not as good as Citizen Kane. So the real problem is, once you've done something that people think is really good, then the bar is almost unattainably high. So I think it would be a mistake to do it. So we'll just have dinner together instead. Okay? Any other thoughts, questions? Okay, what would you like us to do? Would you like to do some more marketing? You're entirely sure? But you don't want to say that, what is the name of it? Gold, is it? Gold is the finest channel that has ever been seen on this planet since history began, and it is proud, indeed excited, to be presenting the finest comedy show that has ever been seen on this planet at any time, or in fact in any part of the cosmos. Did I miss anything out there? Okay. Transfer the fork to this hand and spear the meat with the right hand. And he stopped, and I remember he just stared. And then he said to Gillian, we don't eat like that in this country. And we were pretty astounded, because it was completely out of the blue.
We were filming the next day, and I said, can you give us a call in the morning? And he looked a bit, yeah, yes. What time? I said, well, about 7:15. 7:15? It's just like Basil. 7:15? You want me to ring you 7:15? You want breakfast as well? It was exactly the same reaction. I thought, this is really odd. He's running a hotel.
I said to Mark, I can't stay here. I really can't stand it. I didn't see the comic possibility as that John had seen.
At 43, Prunella Scales was already a veteran of the stage and screen. Sybil was to become her most infamous and celebrated creation.
It's going to...
I think it was my idea that perhaps she wasn't as posh as he was, and what she fell for was his sort of upper class manner and accent and everything. The heels and the tight-fitting skirts, and yes, that was based on somebody I'd known in the business as a child, you know, the sort of thing she wore.
Uncle Tim comes in with his crate of brown ale.
The laugh was based on Connie's laugh, actually.
Oh, it's a swine to have told that, but it's true.
The great thing about Connie is win.
Thank you very much. So if everybody can take their sort of positions.
Guys. Okay, so how does it feel to be behind the reception again?
It's funny, isn't it? They mocked it up very well. I wonder what it would be like to be behind that set, which of course only existed on the day of recording. You know, you got so used to it, you forgot that the outside didn't exist. It was all done on film. But it's funny how you put it all together in your mind, and it feels to me almost as though it really existed. We used to shoot the exteriors at a strange place about 45 minutes west of London, and it eventually burned down. So, but not before someone had been shot there. It was slightly seedy at one point, and somebody once got shot there with a shotgun. I remember, because we went to film about a week later, and they weren't talking about it much.
Oh no. What is it? So for the programme, you've gone through all the old episodes. What was it like to revisit all those scenes? Did it bring back all the memories flooding back?
Well, I did this last year because the BBC, the marketing people said, well, we sold everyone 40 towers, so how can we sell it to them again? This is how marketing people, they don't have anything new to sell. You know, it's the question of how to repackage the old stuff. And they said, would I put a commentary on all of them? So that's exactly what I did. I watched all 12 shows. What I did was I watched each show once, and then I watched it on fast forward just so that I got the plot clear in my mind. And then I would go in the recording studio, and it would take about 2 hours, rocking and rolling, they call it. I'd keep talking about various things like why I was pleased with a particular bit of business, or why I thought a bit of business had been done badly, or where there was a mistake in the script, or where it wasn't quite clear what was happening, or why Ballad Barkley is so wonderful. You know, all these little aspects of it. And I did that for about 2 hours, and then we had a show, and I did that for all 12 shows. And what I was really pleased about was that the shows really totally stand up. They haven't started to age yet, and they still look skillful. And I think the main reason was that Connie and I used to spend 6 weeks writing each episode. There was so much material in those episodes that there's a lot there, and that's why I think people can watch it over and over again.
Was there a particular episode that sort of stands out as one that was particularly hard to write or hard to finish?
The one with the fellow who died was very difficult to finish, because originally Connie and I had the idea that he had a twin, so that once Basil had got the guy in the basket, the twin was going to walk in, and of course Basil thought the guy in the basket was playing a trick on him. And that we thought was a very funny setup for a good farcical ending. And then we slowly began to realize that you couldn't, in a comedy like this, tell one brother that his brother had just died. You see what I mean? Emotionally, it would have been completely wrong. So we had to abandon that ending and go back and rewrite the ending in a different way. And I think that was the one that took us longest.
How do you think it's managed to stand the test of time so well? Do you think it could actually be made today? Do you think you'd get away with making it in, you know, the certain types of humour that it has?
I think the kind of humour in it is not going to age. The funny thing is, what does age more than anything is technology. So I'm just about to write a film this summer. I have a very good plot, but I suddenly realised it's the first full-length film that I've written since the invention and use the mobile phone. And you begin to wonder, well, how much is that going to affect? Because I think in terms of plot, I'm not necessarily thinking in terms of mobile phones all the time, because I'm old-fashioned and to some extent stuck in my old era. So I think that things like that can change. And then other times it's social things that change. I mean, when I watched Some Like It Hot recently, one of my favourite comedies of all time, I suddenly felt the guys dressing up with women just didn't seem to work anymore. It's something to do with feminism and the development of women, and you look at them and you think nobody's going to believe they're girls, whereas you didn't worry about that 40 years ago. So this is just, things change, but not that fast.
You must get some pretty special... okay, could we just get an ident of our Entertainment Now programme, would you mind? Just to announce Entertainment Now.
So what would you like to say?
Just to do whatever you want, really, but just you're watching Entertainment Now.
You are watching Entertainment Now. Now, if you didn't know that, there may be many things wrong with you. One, you may be having some mental disease at the moment where your brain cells are being eaten away by something, possibly blue cheese. Latest research shows that's very, very dangerous. In which case you may not only not realize that you're watching Entertainment Now, but you may be unaware of your own existence. In which case, do speak to a doctor.
Brilliant. Okay, lovely.
Thank you very much.
What are your fondest memories when you think back to the time of filming?
3 months. Well, things have happened since then. It's always referred to.
Yeah.
You know, I could be playing Hamlet, but they say I loved you.
Yeah. Well, when you watch Manuel now, how do you feel? I mean, I think everyone feels some affection for Manuel. You feel a bit sorry for him, but how do you feel actually having been here?
I feel older. I No, I think you misunderstood. People say how sorry they feel for you. Manuel is
It will go out to...
Fire away.
Okay, so what do you think it is that makes Fawlty Towers so special to all the fans that love it so much?
I keep being asked that, and I never think of a very good answer to that, because my feelings about it would apply to some extent to other good sitcoms. So it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what it is. You can't do it. But it's what I can try to say is that it's faster than normal sitcoms. And the other side of it, the other end of it, is something like The Royal Family, where nobody moves except make a cup of tea, and they sit there watching television, don't they? But that's brilliant on its own. So you can't define what's going to be good or not. There was also a lot of pace, a lot of theatre background, and it has roots in things like the French farces, with doors open and people running around and getting upset and embarrassed and so on. And it's about, I've just mentioned this to somebody else, it's almost a drama or a tragedy with laughs, because there are real situations, there are real people in trouble, and we always love seeing people in trouble, unless it's us, you know. We can actually see it, enjoy the man falling on the banana skin rather than being the man on the banana skin. So there's that element to it that we recognise, but we're not hurt by it.
Do you think it could be made if, like on today's day and age? Do you think it could be made now if it was?
Well, it would have to be different. It would be different, but it's been made. So you want to repeat it. New ideas are much better, and they come and go.
I didn't mean remade, made as in if it had never existed then. Do you think it could be made in today's day and age?
Well, I don't see why not. Yes, why not?
It must have brought back loads of memories doing these special programmes. What sort of stands out for you as sort of defining memories of the time?
Well, I think I love the teamwork. It's a real team. And in the theatre, which I've done years and years of, most of my work has been either theatre or radio, and a lot of writing. And I've always enjoyed being in a team where everybody helps each other, a little family. And on tour, for instance, of a play, if it's a nice lot of people, you enjoy that family feeling that you care and share about the others on stage or even off stage. And I find that in Coronation Street at the moment. They seem to be very supportive of each other, and I like that. I'm not mad about stars playing grand and all that. Unfortunately, I haven't had any bad experiences, and I wouldn't notice them anyway. I try not to notice them. But generally speaking, it's the teamwork that I particularly like, and of course the skill of the writers.
There's some very slapstick moments in it, and was any of them? Did you ever get really hurt in the moments?
Yes. Next question. It's all right. I've been used to it. At the time we were making the first series, I was playing the lead in No Sex Please, we're British, in the West End. So I had a busy week, as you can. That's why I recorded, I think, on a Sunday, and I got hurt in that. But I'm used to falling about, and I'd done all the part that I was playing had been originated by Michael Crawford. You know the kind of stuff he does, and I was doing all his things, jumping up and down through all that. So I was used to falling and getting up again and pretending not to be hurt, and often rarely was. Certainly I was in pain, but you know, you have to suffer for your art, don't you?
I was reading somewhere about a time when when the programme was exported, you had to dub your lines into German. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, it was for Germany. They were, instead of just subtitling, they were going to do the first series with German actors dubbing the voices. And I come from Germany. My hometown is Berlin, so my first language is German. You see, so they hauled me over there. Would I play Manuel in German with the Spanish accent? So yeah, why not? Yeah. So I did it. It's curious.
How did you go about deciding how to do the accent? And
well, guesswork. No, it was a line like "I love you, Mr. Fawlty," or "I know nothing," would go, "Herr Fawlty, ich weiß gar nichts, gar nichts." Sounds weird.
That's great. Well, thank you very much. I think we're out of time. So, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Okay.
He's looking worried.
Feel strange to be back on set.
It's rather touching, really, you know. They've recreated the desk, and it's lovely to see John and Connie and Andrew again because they've remained dear friends.
I hear it's the first time you've all been together for quite a while. What's it like to be back to...
Yes, I think it is probably. Well, I hope we're going to go and have an enormous lunch in a minute. Then we'll catch up with some of the news.
And for these programmes, you must have sort of gone back through loads of old memories and stuff. What stands out for you as some great memories from the show and that time period?
Well, it was a very happy job in that, you know, one respected the text enormously. It was brilliant text. So it was, but at the time, it was just very, very pressurised, you know. Each episode was made in a week. We got Monday off, met on Tuesday morning and did a read-through. John and Connie made adjustments on Tuesday afternoon. We met on Wednesday morning and with the adjustments. If we didn't know it by the Thursday morning, everybody was very, very cross. And then we rehearsed on Thursday morning. I think the crew came in on the Friday, and on Saturday morning we met again and did a couple of run-throughs, and then we made it on Sunday morning. So in front of we rehearsed in the morning in the set, and then we recorded it in front of a live audience on Sunday night, Sunday evening.
It felt like a very, very busy time.
It was very pressurised, yes.
And so was there actually any sort of fun and frolics on set, or was it all very serious?
It was comedy is a serious business, yes. Well, it was pressurised, let's say, you know, but a very happy job, you know. But with that sort of timetable, you don't have time to think, oh goodness, what a happy. I mean, if it weren't happy, you'd be in agony, you know, and you'd look back on it as a horrendous time. But I think we had enormous respect for the text. And we had some wonderful guest artists with us, and James Sanderson, for instance, you know, was there every week, and I think we were all very fond of each other and remained in touch ever since.
It was such a strong character that you played. Do you think that it's given people any sort of misconceptions about you as a person, like with the fans coming up to you or anything? Or?
I hope I've done enough since to disabuse them.
Do you still get a lot of fans sort of mentioning, harking back to that time and to
yes,
to
but
Sybil?
I think you know, to be fair to the British public, if they've enjoyed you in one thing, they don't expect you to be exactly the same in the other. To be lucky enough to be associated with a popular television series means that if you appear in the theatre, people will take the giant step from the pavement into the building to see you in something else, and they won't expect you to be exactly the same. I hope, yes, they expect you to be entertaining and good in the part, but not necessarily the same.
And lastly, why do you think it's sort of stood the test of time so well, more than all other comedies around at the time, really?
Really?
I think it's got such a place in people's hearts. Why do you think that?
Well, that's to do with the brilliance of the writing. It's thanks to John and Connie. It really is. And it was beautifully directed and very, very strongly cast. And we had a lot of help and encouragement from the sort of the production team. But originally, really, it's about to do with the writing the text.
That's great. Well, thank you very much. I think we're out of time, so thank you very much for talking to me.
Do you want to sit face on, or can I sit? Yeah.